Hello everybody, it's time to take another look at what it means to solve by factoring or to factor in general. So at this station we'll be looking at what this means, how we get our factors, and then how we find our two solutions, okay? So GCF, grouping, AC method, and difference of perfect squares are the ways that we've talked about factoring so far. This was sort of a checklist. First I start with GCF. Can I take something common out of each term? Grouping. Are there four terms that I can place in four boxes? AC method. Take the A times the C and turn it into a four-term grouping problem. And then difference of perfect squares, remember, means that you need to have a subtract sign with perfect square numbers, like 4, 9, 16, 25. Don't forget even the number 1 is a perfect square since the square root of 1 is 1. So all of these methods are doable for us anytime we have to solve by factoring. Now let's take a look at one example here. So in this problem, notice we have a 5x squared plus 5x and an equal sign and a 10. Before we want to attempt to solve this by factoring, we want to make sure that every piece is together on the same side so we can see what this problem looks like. So the first thing I would do is subtract 10 from both sides. Then I create the problem 5x squared plus 5x minus the 10 equals a 0. Okay? Now noticing that all of these terms here have coefficients. So 5x squared, 5x, and then we have a negative 10 as a constant. So all of these are divisible by a common factor, the greatest common factor. Notice that they're all divisible by the number 5. So that would be my first step, to go ahead and divide by the number 5 first, so that I can change what this problem looks like a little bit. So I'll have 5x squared plus 1x here, and then minus the 2, and there's all the pieces when they're divided by 5, okay? So each and every one of those divided by 5, now we take a look at what we need to do to factor. Now notice that there are 3 terms over here on this side of the equal sign. Those 3 terms are my clue that I need to use the AC method. That means that you take the A number times the C. Now the A is the number in front of the x squared. In our case, that's a 1. We take 1 times negative 2. And that gives me an answer of negative 2. Now we think about all the things that multiply to make negative 2. Negative 2 times 1, negative 1 times a positive 2. These are the numbers that would multiply to make the value of negative 2. But I want to select just one pair of numbers here, but I need them to add to make positive 1x in the middle. These two right here add to make positive 1x in the middle. So then we went ahead and we placed them in the 4-box grouping method. So we said x squared and negative 2, the a and the c would stay the same, but now these two values become the x terms. And now we ask ourselves, out of each row and column, what can I divide out? Out of this row right here, I can divide an x. Out of this row, I can divide the number 2. What can I take out or divide out of these two? An x. What can I divide out of this column? Notice that the column starts negative, so we know we need to take out something negative, and the only number you can divide out of a 1 and a 2 is a 1. So my factors then become x minus 1, x plus 2. And I still have the equals to 0, okay? Equals 0. Now we go ahead and solve each piece. We know that x minus 1 could equal the 0, so x equals 1 if we went ahead and add 1 to both sides here. Or the x plus 2 piece could equal the 0 here, so I'd minus 2, x equals negative 2. So there are 2 solutions to this x squared problem, and we got them by factoring the quadratic equation apart. Okay, so that is what we do whenever we need to solve by factoring. All right, guys, see you later, Sabers. Kincaid out.